Whoa, whoa, whoa! Put on the brakes, put on the brakes. Welcome, welcome, boys and girls, children of all ages, hoofties, pufties, bung-eyed heifers, right and left wing wackos, woodchucks and chuckettes, kings and queens of the Northeast Kingdom, and little dogs too, to another version of It's News to Us.
Oh, he's got life so horrible, doesn't he?
Oh, God. He's got it rough.
Weasel.
This little Visa sitting there keeping the wood stove warm. To another version of It's News to Us. And you are watching It's News to Us. We're Newport's oldest TV news watchers now. Thanks, Philo. In the booth we have Philo T. Farnsworth, our engineer, our crack engineer.
Engineer on crack?
Yeah, we get adult themes and adult language. You're advised, but not really. It's mostly PG. We're all inclusive here. We cater to men, women, and all points in between. Defund the police? No, defend the police, man. I'm telling you. You know, one of the stories I hope I can get to, I left it in the bag, of course, is the people, the cities who have defunded the police are kind of regretting it now. Now, beware of the Bronze Age invisible sky god. He's going to beat you and forgive you, and beat you and forgive you. And I'm going to leave that one up. That is the vaccine side effects. On page 16, if you go to that website and go to page 16, you'll be able to see the side effects. And it's my favorite, of course, is death. But
It's just like, remember that comedian Bob Nelson? He said, and you could get seriously killed. You remember him?
yeah.
Bob Nelson? He did the football players.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, he said something about not if you didn't wear your helmet, you could get Dane Bramage.
That'll do it. Now, what did I wrote down on here? What the hell was it? And we've been talking about there's, a lot of the poorer countries have been experimenting with drugs. You notice that the ones that they couldn't make big money off of, that they didn't push, and they called it quack medicine and stuff like that, like the, what was that stuff that Trump was talking about?
Hydrochloroquinoline or something?
Chloroquine.
Chloroquine, yeah.
Yeah, and stuff like that. That, it stopped cytokine, whatever they call it, rush or whatever it is. But I was reading this other story, and you can see it at the NIH website, NIHclinicaltrials.gov, where they were using ivermectin in adults with severe COVID-19. That's the name of the study. And again, an older drug that they've used for years and years and years, and poorer countries too have been using this to treat people with this COVID virus. But anyways, and now they're coming out with with this crap about the new vaccine. And you notice how we've gone. Well, at first they were breaking. Everybody, they were playing clips last night. Everybody and their brother-in-law was making fun of Trump. There's no way he'll have a vaccine by the end of the year. It ain't gonna happen. There's just no way, mister. I'm telling you. Ho, ho, ho. That Trump's so full of crap. Well, sure enough, we got it before the end of the year, and it would have got emergency approval before the election, too. And don't get me going about that one. Oh, and there was another thing they were making fun of. Remember, during the debates, Trump brought up the Biden family syndicate, Inc., crime family. He brought up Hunter Biden's ties to all these horrible countries, and all the money was taken, and all the suspicious activity reports that were generated by the Treasury and Department, and I mean, they moved so much money around the planet, and now they're getting them like Al Capone. Instead of going after Capone for murder, what did they get him for, Philo?
Tax evasion.
Income tax evasion. So during the debates, that corrupt old geezer, Joe Bite Me, comes out and says, well, there have been over 50 intelligence agents who said that, by Jesus, mister, 50 intelligence agents came out and said that it was Russian disinformation about my son Hunter. Well, of course, after the election, what do we find out, Philo?
I don't know. I don't pay attention anymore.
They're investigating the multiple investigations about Hunter Biden and what's on his laptop, and a lot of it ain't pretty, if you know what I mean.
He probably got porno on it.
Yeah, supposedly, and allegedly there are pictures of underage people too, Philo.
That is not right.
No, what was the old saw that your career was over if they caught you with a dead girl or a live boy? And but that was in the old days. Things are different now. But yeah. Anyways, hee haw haw. They have 50 intelligence agents. Yeah, well, you know what? You got your wish, okay? If that was indeed your wish. But the thing is, and I'm sitting there and I'm watching these hearings that they had last week. Not one network had covered any of these hearings. Mac, do something camera worthy. Come on.
At least he's on it.
Roll around, scratch, grunt, do something.
He did that when you were doing your intro.
Of course.
He does that. I found out he's doing that every week now. When you start into your opening monologue,
yeah,
he's rolling around and snorting and grunting and kicking his legs,
and then when it comes time to throw the camera on him, what's he do? Fall asleep.
Now he's gonna scratch. He's got neck scratch fever.
So they're going on and on and on, and now we find out that the corrupt geezer is, after all, a corrupt geezer. And I'm watching these hearings. Not one network ran it on TV. I had to watch it on YouTube of all things. And they had hearings from Nevada and Georgia, and the ones from Georgia were really eye-opening, Philo.
Mac's got his head underneath the curtain, thinks we can't see him. Look at.
Oh, he's gonna hide again. Good dog. Just hide out there. Nobody will ever see you. The Epuke Times. Again, this is a newspaper I get weekly. Thanks, Philo. It's from the Falun Gong people. They're ex-communist Chinese who fled the communist regime years ago, or socialist or dictatorship, whatever you want to call it. But it has a timeline in here of what happened in Georgia. And man, these people were so brazen. Philo, they knew the place was all cameraed up, right? And they didn't even care. They didn't care. They hid boxes of ballots under a table. Said, "Oh, we got a plumbing problem. We're going to stop the voting count. Everybody go on home." Now, here's something from Venezuela. And years ago, like I said before, I mentioned this before on a prior broadcast, that the Democrats were looking into these stupid machines because, they're junk and they can be screwed, tampered with, and all it takes is a thumb drive or being connected to the internet, and you go back to the server in Barcelona or whatever. But anyways, the troubling foreign ties behind the voting machines that are used in the U.S. Let's see, and it starts off in Venezuela. Let's see, they found through an investigation that Chavez started to focus on voting machines to ensure his victory as early as 2003, when more than 20% signed a recall referendum to remove him as president. So he started talking to a company called Indra, which is a Spanish company which ran elections in Venezuela. After deciding that Indra's voting machines weren't flexible enough, Chavez contacted Smartmatic. And they said that he didn't contact the company, but the process went through the National Election Council. Oh, like that's any different in Venezuela, right? So anyways, Smartmatic won the bid, and the 5-member council, dominated by Chavez supporters, awarded a $91 million contract to Smartmatic. On midnight on election day, the machine stopped counting, this official said, noting that Chavez was losing at that point. Yet by 3 a.m., Chavez had won by 10%. Why does that sound familiar, boys and girls? Geez, what a coincidence. Smartmatic spokesman said the results aren't available in real time. Yeah, of course they are. In 2005, Smartmatic bought Sequoia Voting Systems, a larger and more established company based in Oakland, California. Sequoia had installed equipment in 17 U.S. states and in Washington. Concerns that Smartmatic had ties to Chavez were so widespread at the time, the U.S. government began investigating the takeover of the company a year after the purchase. The New York Times reported back then, which was back in 2005. The probe was conducted by the Committee of Foreign Investment in the United States, CFIUS, which reviews deals by foreign acquirers for potential national security risks. Among the points of concern was Smartmatic's convoluted business structure. See, it's like the old, remember the pea under the shell game, Philo?
Yep, I do.
Yeah, the old shell game when it came to ownership. Smartmatic is claimed to be of U.S. origin, but its true owners remain hidden behind a web of holding companies in the Netherlands and Barbados, according to the State Department cable. And thank God for the internet, because all of this is archived and it's on there. You can double check it. You don't have to take it from me or the ex-commies or anybody. If you wanted to find out, you can find out for yourself easily enough. In 2006, Treasury Secretary John Snow inquired whether a Venezuelan government could use Sequoia to manipulate the U.S. elections. Representative Carolyn Maloney, Democrat of New York, another high-profile representative, was the first to voice concerns for an investigation into the deal. Before it sold Sequoia, Smartmatic had refused to undergo a review by the U.S. government, claiming that all the allegations were simply rumors. Oh, yada, yada, yada. Anyways, they attempted to respond to those concerns, but in 2007, they ended up selling Sequoia to what the company described in a statement as a group of private U.S. investors comprised by Sequoia's current executive management team, led by President and CEO Jack Blaine and the company's CFO Peter McEnamy. So these private equity firms, as well as Dominion, were named in a scathing 2019 release. Remember I told you Elizabeth Warren was looking into this, and Mark Pocan, the Democrats were looking into this, because at the time they thought it was manipulated, and that's how Trump won, because they couldn't believe that Trump had won in 2016. So the Democrats started looking into it, and somehow it just went away. But anyways, were named in a scathing 2019 release by Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar, Ron Wyden, and Representative Mark Pocan, who had raised concerns about the poor condition and vulnerabilities of these machines and other equipment, along with a lack of transparency in letters to the companies. A year after Smartmatic sold Sequoia, The new owner was revealed through a 2008 lawsuit, SVS Holdings. Court arguments uncovered that Smartmatic was still the owner of Sequoia's intellectual property. And on it goes. But here's the thing, see? What happened I don't know how much the swamp was involved with this, but these machines were, it was rigged. The same exact thing happened here. Only we caught them. We caught a lot of them on video, and I'm not going to say videotape like Philo does, but there's pictures here, and they were so brazen that they said that a pipe had broken. Now, mind you, this is a brand new center in Atlanta. They claimed a pipe had broken. And all it was some clogged urinal, Philo.
Goodness.
Yeah, good grief. So they kicked everybody out, and you could see this Wandrea Shea Moss. You can see her pulling a box from under the table. And then there's a guy in the red shirt is pulling another box out. And then it shows them, and here, for those of you who didn't get to see it, and you can still see this out on YouTube, for those of you older folks and younger folks who are interested and actually have internet. Thanks, Philo. You can see this on YouTube. And not only do they pull these boxes out from under the table, Philo, where they'd been hidden, right, in plain sight after they'd kicked out all the inspectors and everybody who's supposed to be there to watch them. This is in Atlanta. After they kicked them out, then it shows them running these same batches of ballots through the machines over and over and over again, Philo. That sounds honest to me. Yeah.
You know what always killed me, though? Trump won the last election. He even wanted that investigated. Saying, well, I didn't win the popular vote, so therefore there must have been voter fraud. Hey, you won. Shut up.
Oh, dude, but honest to God, Terry, he should have. He should have looked into it just so we could clean this up, because
you're never going to clean this up. This has gone way too far.
But we have to go to the Canadian system, dude.
Everybody has to play hockey?
Yeah. At the fights, a hockey game broke out. We have to go to the Canadian system. We have to have voter ID. And these states, and they have to follow the law. This is why I don't believe the courts wouldn't take the cases, because the Constitution and the law says that the only way you can change the way you vote in the voting apparatus is to run it through the legislature, like we do here, right? But what did they do? They got around that this time by the COVID virus. Well, that ain't going to wash. Well, and now they're saying, like with the vaccine, everybody thinks, oh, we'll get the vaccine, we'll go back to normal. Remember, that's what they said?
Well, you know what's going to happen? I'll let you go ahead, because I heard some very disturbing news today.
Oh, well, yeah. Remember, all we need is 15 days to flatten the curve. Remember that one in March?
Yeah, well, the only thing we flattened was Phil Scott's head.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Too bad he didn't get his pickle nose with it.
Just declared another state of emergency again. Another one. Emperor Phil. And all we needed was 15 days to flatten the curve. And now they're saying that all we need is we got to do the shutdowns, even though the shutdowns don't work. And then they're saying, and like in New York City, we shut down indoor dining, and now even outdoor dining. After all these people put up all this money to dine outdoors, which is insane, because only 1.5% to 2% of the known cases. Now, mind you, they have contract tracers to find out where these cases came from. And only 1% to 2% came from restaurants and bars, right, Philo?
Yep.
So we shut down the restaurants and bars. Why? When 30 to 60% they estimate come from homes and apartment buildings where people live. It's insane. And now they're saying, well, they were telling us, once we get the vaccine, then everything will be fine. We'll be able to go back to normal. Oh, no. Now that one's even changing, mister.
Yeah, Fauci has said don't expect things to go back to normal. He's going to up till the end of the third quarter of next year. And I bet you it's going to go on another full year.
Oh, they're out of their friggin' minds. Why are we listening to these people? They've been wrong over and over and over again.
It's the New World Order, and we have enough young people that want to go along with it.
Yeah.
I'm not joking, really. Actually, it isn't just young people. I'm not going to blame them.
Yeah.
But there are enough people in general who are just scared to death of this. And I could tell you stories of people that I thought were intelligent and at least rational.
Yeah.
But forget that. It's just gone off the rails. Gone off the rails.
Yeah, it's left, the train has left the station. It's just insane. And here we are too. Oh, this one kills me. And I had to read it because, being the armchair epidemiologist, as Dr. Levine calls me.
Who happens to know more than Dr. Levine.
Well, the guy's a doctor. I'll give him that. But look, I'm not stupid, and I've been blessed with a good memory, okay? And that coupled with the internet, by God, thank God for the internet. You can pull up all these studies that are peer-reviewed and published and everything else. And the studies they don't like, they bury or they pull completely. Like that one I sent to you last week. What was that study about? For crying out loud. That we didn't have any excess deaths, right? That the excess deaths from COVID, it wasn't any higher than the regular deaths that we had, and that came from Johns Hopkins. It was put out by a woman named Baird, I think. No, Briand. Briand. Yeah. And see, with the memory, and because it wasn't politically correct, they pulled it. Even though it was truthful and factual, they pulled it. Oh, then the same thing with the election too. They found that over 10% of people said that had they known about crooked Joe Biden and his crooked son making all this crooked money off the crooked family dealings for the past 40 years, they wouldn't have voted for him. But guess what? They got censored by Google on YouTube. The story got censored. They pulled the New York Post, the oldest or second oldest newspaper in the country. They pulled their Twitter account because of the laptop story, and now it turns out that it's all true. But we had to wait till after the election. Here we are. Bat research eyes the next pandemic. Well, we wouldn't have a next pandemic, and there's no mention of the gain of function here. There's no mention of them playing with these viruses.
You see how this works? They've always got another pandemic. They've always got one they've invented, and they're going to keep these things going to keep everybody scared. I would love to see that article and send it out to all these people who believe the crap that the CDC is putting out.
Oh, well, I'll leave it for you. But they blame it on bats,
So this is the next pandemic already?
Huh?
This is they're planning the next pandemic already?
Pretty much, yeah. But they don't mention that they're screwing with it. They're just saying they're doing research on this. And let's see. It says, stress is a huge factor in upsetting the natural balance that bats have with these viruses. The more you stress bats, the more they shed viruses. Oh, sure. Anyways,
I got a couple baseball bats.
Yeah, a better approach to minimize disease risk is simply to minimize contact between wild bats and people and livestock. Oh, you think? But people have, like I said, people have lived in caves with bats since there have been people. Let's see. Bats aren't the problem. The idea is to plant new forest. Well, anyways, they cut down a forest, and they had a problem with bats in Australia. Let's see.
They got a problem with everything. Everything in Australia can kill you.
Yeah.
And then if that wasn't bad enough, they make a game that could do it too. Australian football, that is the craziest game you'll ever see.
It's no coincidence that many disease scientists are focusing attention on bats, the world's only flying mammal. Bats are thought to be the original or intermediate host for multiple viruses that have spawned recent epidemics, including SARS, MERS, Ebola, Nipah, Hendra, and Marburg. All named after the places where they originated, but we can't say that this one came from China, even though we know it did. And they still haven't proven that it came from bats. I mean, they know that it's a bat virus, but they can't prove that it came from the bats. It most likely came from the laboratory where it was being weaponized. And don't you got to love the disclaimers here. November nighttime virus, study virus, including bats, which many scientists believe were linked to the outbreak of COVID-19. In a highly connected world, an outbreak in one place endangers the entire globe, just as the coronavirus did. Oh, sure. Yeah, well, stop playing with fire. Like I said over and over again, they had hundreds of thousands of bioethicists and scientists who said, look, don't do this gain-of-function research. Don't do it. You're jeopardizing the planet, and for nothing. You're going to create this Frankenstein monster. It's going to get loose, and it's going to rip apart the village.
You remember the Turelian plague, right?
Yeah, who doesn't?
You remember that? Remember when Neelix said something about it isn't like this is an outbreak of the Turelian plague. Have you ever looked up what that was?
No.
In the 24th century, the planet Turelius had a civil war, and one side developed a bioweapon to kill the other side, but it got loose and it killed everybody.
I'll be damned.
No joke. Yeah, this is science fiction, and it's coming true.
Kind of like with poison gas in World War I.
Yep.
That was a great idea too. Yeah, sure. Oh, Japan Space Agency confirms the capsule holds asteroid soil from the Hayabusa 2. The Japs sent this thing up. It went out to the asteroid belt, plucked a bunch of dirt from the asteroid, but they had a problem with it. It didn't close properly, which means it had this been carrying some virulent pathogens or whatever, and it didn't close properly. It could have endangered the globe too, right, Philo?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, but anyways, I guess it closed enough. The pan-shaped capsule, 15 inches in diameter, was dropped from the Hayabusa 2 from space onto a spot in the sparsely populated Australian desert on December 6. The Japanese said the scientists opened the capsule and found an unspecified amount of sandy black particles. They'll continue their initial examination. Here we are, too. Again, U.S. agencies lied in months-long campaign. I won't even get into that. Yeah, it's Russian disinformation. Oh, sure. That's what it is, all right. Oh, where's the thing about no more war? More businesses going under, Philo.
Yeah, I wish I had the posting that I saw on Facebook yesterday. One of my good friends that used to go to the gym with, she and her husband own this little restaurant. He says, you can't have a restaurant open, but you can have real people coming up from out of state to see real estate and buy houses and all this other stuff.
And sell drugs.
Yeah. And anyways, I wish I had it because the quote was really good.
Oh, anyways, it looks like the restaurant owners in California won one in court. LA restaurants win battle over closures. By failing to weigh the benefits of outdoor dining restriction against its costs, the county acted arbitrarily, and its decision lacks a rational relationship to a legitimate end, the judge wrote. They said the limited outdoor dining ban must conduct a risk-benefit analysis before trying to extend it. Oh, imagine that, using science, Philo?
Yeah, I know. Hey, I'm going to try to find that quote for you real quick. If I can't, I'll pass on it.
It's the first victory for California restaurant challenging the health orders that have crippled their industry.
Okay, you ready for this one?
Yeah.
So I am still officially not allowed to open my pub, but real estate agents are allowed to sell houses with viewings. So I am officially putting my pub on the market as of tomorrow. Viewings will be from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. No appointment necessary, but you must buy a beer while viewing.
Oh, and speaking of which,
What do you think of that?
it's insane. And speaking of insanity, do you know how Saturday Night Live gets around why they have an audience for Saturday Night Live now, Philo?
Why is that?
Because there's a loophole in the New York law that says, I don't know, the movie or film industry or somebody, you can't have an audience come in and pay you to watch a show like on Broadway, right?
Okay.
But if you're filming a production, you can pay people, actors, you could call them actors or whatever. I'm not sure if they have to be a member of the union or not. Maybe not if they're extras, you know what I mean?
Extras, probably.
Yeah. But if you're filming a thing for the entertainment thing, for entertainment value, then you can pay people to come in and pretend they're an audience. I mean, is there a clause in that contract that they have to laugh at the stupid Saturday Night Live skits that aren't funny anymore?
I stopped watching them in 1981.
Oh God, they're horrible, man.
Did you remember the original ones?
Well, yeah, I was watching clips of Steve Martin from way back when.
Yeah, in the 70s, yeah.
And God, he wasn't funny back then. I mean, you know, I don't care how many drugs you took back then. This guy, it just wasn't funny. Some of the stuff Belushi did, you know.
Yeah, when they had Aykroyd and Belushi and Gilda Radner, Lorraine Newman, Garrett Morris.
Yeah.
Bill Murray. That was the group I liked. Right after they left, I lost interest in that show.
Well, I remember because they would take chances.
Chevy Chase, too.
Yeah, they would take chances. I mean, one of my favorite skits was Garrett Morris, where he came out and he was selling, excuse me, but I'm just quoting here, he was selling niggerans, okay? They were niggerans. They're from South African gold coin with a picture of the people who mine the gold on the front.
As opposed to what he was doing was poking fun at Cougarans.
Yeah,
Right.
They were poking fun at Krugerrands, exactly.
Right.
And they couldn't get away with that. Oh no, not today. Except for Dave Chappelle, you know.
Well,
And-
you know, if people get so easily offended by all this type of humor, they should listen to
Richard-
All in the Family or Sanford and Son.
Richard Pryor.
Yeah. Or another one. What was the other one that was so good? Oh, Don Rickles.
Oh man, he insulted everybody.
And he
He never used the N-word though.
no, he always insulted his own kind more than anybody.
Oh yeah, he whacked the Jews hard.
It's just like if you're Italian, you can make fun of Italians. I do it all the time.
Yeah, well, so did Don Rickles.
Yeah.
And Poles.
Yep.
And the Irish. And WASPs and everybody.
He even had two jokes about the Mormons.
And boy, do they deserve to be made fun of. Here we are. This kept coming up when the Vermont legislature passed the infanticide law. I'm not going to call it an abortion law, because abortion to me means the first trimester. You know, it doesn't
there's a real
mean
medical need. Yeah.
Yeah, to me, it doesn't mean waiting till the baby's ready to be born, or even after it's born and ending its life. That's infanticide. I'm sorry. But anyways, this question kept coming up because, like in the Bible says nothing about abortion, but they do have extra penalties if you kill a pregnant woman, right?
That's right.
And Clark kept bringing this up during the debates here in Vermont, you know. Does that mean that if you kill does the fetus count? You know, what the hell? But it still does in New Hampshire, I guess. This is from Saturday's paper, December 12th. Let's see. A former Fortune 500 executive who pled guilty to causing a crash killed a couple and their onboard baby was granted parole. Let's see. On December 7th, 2013, his truck crossed the median on I-89 and killed Jason Timmons, his fiancée, Amanda, and the couple's unborn child. He said he had been taking a mix of prescription drugs. I'm sure he did. And he was taking medicine for MS and depression. Let's see. Yada, yada, yada. He pled guilty to negligent homicide for the deaths of the couple and to assault for the death of the fetus. Now, wait a minute. If you killed the fetus, you didn't just assault it, Philo.
That's right. It was probably one of those great plea bargains.
Yeah, that's got to be something wrong there. Oh, and here we are, too. A Boston pastor who sold drugs out of his own church got sentenced last week. Excuse me. A Boston church pastor who continued to sell drugs even after he made bail after his initial arrest has been sentenced up to 5 years in Pokey. Willie Wilkerson, 62, of Dorchester, pled guilty to multiple charges and other offenses. That this coward used his church to mask and hide his criminal behavior is awful, said Rachel Rollins, the DA. His actions inflicted harm on the community and the church congregation he was supposed to be serving. Hey, man, if the choir likes their crack, they're going to get it somewhere, right, Philo?
Hey, if you don't have crack, you're not whacked.
Yeah, God, maybe they sing better.
Excuse me.
Wilkerson was arrested in 2017 after police received a tip that he was selling drugs out of his home and the Mission Church. Warrants executed yielded cocaine, oxycodone, fentanyl, and prescription medicines.
I wonder why he didn't have a bigger following.
Yeah, that's one way to keep him coming back every week, right?
I mean, the simple answer would have been booze and pot, but this guy really went all out, didn't he?
Yeah, geez, it's a regular street corner pharmacist.
Wow.
He made bail and was arrested again late last year after police executed warrants found more drugs as well as .32 caliber ammunition at his home, the church, and on his person. Hey, let me tell you something. Never use a .32, okay? A .32 is just gonna anger someone. You're better off with a 22 for crying out loud than a .32.
25 is another wimpy weapon too, isn't it?
Oh, they're horrible. Yeah, exactly. Oh, and here we are too.
When I owned handguns, Steve, I had a 22 handgun, but the next smallest one I had was a 38.
Yeah, 38. 38 special is just fine for most instances.
I owned a couple 357s, and I even owned a 41.
Yeah, that's out there. But a 38 is a good charge, and women can handle it good too.
My ex-wife, I got her a 38, but she didn't like the kick, so I got her a 357 with a fairly heavy frame.
Yeah.
And we shot 38s out of it and never even moved.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or shoot wad cutters that doesn't even move.
Good old Rand Paul, Philo. Good old Rand Paul. Senate sends defense bill to Trump. He says he's going to veto it, but they're going to just override his veto anyways, right?
Yep.
Because the thing they want more is more war, and that's one thing Trump had promised, and that's why they got rid of him, man. He's honest, and he wanted to stop the war. The Senate vote on the defense bill had been expected Thursday, but was delayed after Rand Paul objected to the measure, saying it could limit Trump's ability to draw down U.S. troops from Afghanistan and Germany. Because let's face it, boys and girls, we need troops in Germany. I mean, you never know when Ivan's going to come roaring down the Fulda Gap in their tank battalions and take over Germany again. 70 years later, right, Philo?
Well, if you want good engineers, that's where you go.
It's nuts.
Hey,
And
you want a nice car like a Mercedes or something? That's where you go. Go get a German engineer.
Yeah, well, I mean, let them build their own tanks and have their own army again. That worked out good. One amendment, co-sponsored by Liz Cheney and Jason Crow, an Afghanistan veteran, would block troop withdrawals in Afghanistan unless the Pentagon submits reports certifying that the drawdowns would not jeopardize national security. Now, how do a bunch of goat ropers half a world away endanger U.S. national security, Philo?
Because it's money. If we don't have enough troops all over the world, they'll lose money.
I mean, are they going to hop on their goats and get in their war canoes and paddle their way over here?
Well, this is what I was a little skeptical over the Afghanistan thing, but gee whiz, the Iraq thing was a real disaster.
They've both been disasters. That's one of the reasons Trump got elected, and the American 75 million people agree with him. Unbelievable. A separate provision pushed by Senator Mittens Romney, Willard Romney with the magic underwear, of Utah and other lawmakers would limit planned troop withdrawals in Germany. Paul singled out Liz Cheney by name, saying that she and her father, former VP Dick Cheney, share a neoconservative belief in perpetual war. Cheney called Rand Paul's actions inexcusable and charged that he delayed the hazardous duty pay to thousands of service members and their families, and kept Congress from completing its greatest duty, providing for the nation's defense. Oh, doesn't that sound typical Cheney-like, Philo?
Yep. By the way, is he still alive? He doesn't even have a heart, you know.
He never had one, really, to begin with.
I think he had the Jean-Luc Picard heart. Some mechanical device, you know?
I think he had one like the Grinch.
Well, that's another story, yeah. That'll be on page 5.
Yeah, it was 2 sizes too small.
Yep.
Mitch McConnell, in a rare break with Trump, urged passage of the measure despite Trump's threat to veto it. McConnell said it was important for Congress to continue a nearly 60-year streak of passing the National Defense Authorization Act, said Mitch McTurtle.
He is too.
Oh, man. They got a double tap in Russia. It looks like the Russian terrorists are starting to learn the other way from what they did. ISIS would do is what they do is they'd set off a bomb, Philo.
Yep.
And then when everybody comes to investigate it and carry away the wounded, bang, they set off a bigger one. That's called a double tap, boys and girls. And they did it in Moscow. Was it in Moscow? No, it was in the North Caucasus, where we get the word Caucasian. That's where Caucasians come from, Philo.
Ivan invented that?
Yeah, Ivan's a Caucasian.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Go figure. Here we are. Robbed, mugged, beaten up, stabbed. Call a shrink, right, Philo?
Yep.
Yep, call the Howard Center. They'll help you out.
That's right, Howard.
I'll tell you who's the real Indian.
That's right, Howard.
Oh, and you know, you're talking about this virus being well, Peter did, talking about the virus. He was talking about people talking about the virus being a Chinese plot to, you know, to stop America from working. Well, guess what? Earth's carbon emissions show a big drop, right? And you think, wow, that's great, man. CO2 emissions are down because, hey, nobody's working, right, Philo? Nobody's traveling.
That's right.
Well, except the people by private jets. The report estimated the world would put 37 billion tons of CO2 into the air by the end of 2020. That's down from 40 billion tons in 2019. Now get this. Emissions fell 12% in the U.S., 11% in Europe, and guess how much they fell in China, Philo?
How much?
1.7%.
Yeah.
So, for all you snowflakes out there, don't worry about CO2 and electric cars and everything because China's still crapping on the planet.
Yes, indeed.
Unbelievable. Man, where's the thing? Where's that one about the cops, man? Oh, damn it, I had a good one about the cops. Oh, I hadn't even, oh, jeez. Here we are. Oh, you remember that movie Mothman with Richard Gere?
No, but tell me about it.
Oh, it was a good one. It was about the Silver Bridge. And here we are, this day in history, right? 1791, on December 15th, the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments went into effect after ratification by Virginia. Because, see, everybody looked at the Constitution and said, hey, it sounds good, but, you know, when you give people power, unless you give them free speech and the right to own guns and stuff like that, they're going to want to take the power away from the people. So that's how we got our First Amendment, right to free speech, right to religion. Our Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms.
And the Third Amendment was the right to keep and arm bears.
Yeah, what is the Third Amendment?
I forgot.
Quartering troops, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't quarter
Fourth
troops.
Amendment's about illegal search and seizure, isn't it?
Yeah. Fourth Amendment. Fifth Amendment is self-incrimination.
Now that meant you're not supposed to take the fifth, not drink the fifth.
Yeah, it's self-incrimination, a speedy trial, and the right to confront your accuser, which you're not able to do because, and especially with this virus stuff, because it's a state of emergency, right, Philo?
Of course, the governor said so. He's got to be right.
Yeah, the emperor. I requested from the state police again. They only gave me the first 3 batches of the snitch reports, and I want the rest of them. And 1967, the Silver Bridge between Gallipolis, Ohio, and Point Pleasant, West Virginia, collapsed into the Ohio River, killing 46 people. And there's a great movie about that with, like I said, with Richard Gere called Mothman, because Mothman was sighted before that happened. And here we are again. Blame Jimmy Carter. This was one of his stupid mistakes.
The Jimmy Carter Show.
Yeah. 1978, Jimmy Carter announced that he would grant diplomatic recognition to Communist China on New Year's Day and cut off official relations with Taiwan. Recognition to Communist China. FDR gave recognition to Communist Russia in 1937, I believe, and Jimmy gave it to the Chinese in 78. Both big mistakes.
Oh, Carter got set with a lot of crappy deals. Like, remember him keeping our guys out of the Olympics?
Yeah.
That was a mistake. But hey.
Yeah, and all because the Russians went into Afghanistan, and it turned out to be a 10-year-long Vietnam for them.
Yep, it didn't do Russia any good, did it?
No, they went limping back home.
And we've learned nothing from it.
They would have kicked ass if we didn't give the Mujahideen their stingers.
Oh yeah, the Al-Qaeda, actually they end up being Al-Qaeda, didn't they?
Well, they wound up turning into Bin Laden. They turned against us. But those stingers, man, they brought down the Russian aircraft, and that's what did it. Otherwise, they'd be speaking Russian in Afghanistan right now. And
nobody's ever been able to actually hold on to that country anyway.
No, why would you bother?
Yeah, there's nothing there.
And they say, oh, it's the world's biggest, they have minerals, they've got the biggest supply of lithium and all these other metals that we need for electric cars and everything. But you know what? If you don't have an electric grid to grind the stuff up and process it, and you don't have any roads to go anywhere, and even if you did have an electric grid, and even if you did have the roads, these guys would blow up both, until you paid them off. Come on. It's nuts. Here we are, task force still hunting the looters from the Chicago stores on August 9th and 10th. Remember those, Philo?
Yeah.
They over 100 video clips, and they've been rounding up these people because hey, it was a free shopping spree. Let's see. They employed the same strategy on a larger scale in the investigation that led charges against actor Juicy Smollett, accusing him of staging an attack on himself. Just as the detectives stitched together videos to follow the two men who attacked Smollett, who he paid to attack himself, the detectives have followed suspects as they move from store to store. And you know how they're getting a lot of them, Philo?
How's that?
With their tattoos. Yep, you got that ink. There's no way you can hide it on a hot summer night. Yeah, laws, who needs them, man? Justices vowed to uphold the Constitution, not politics. Well, geez, here's the thing. They say, oh, well, you don't have standing. If they went to court before the election and said, hey, look, these corrupt hacks didn't go through the legislature to change their election laws, they'd say, well, you don't have standing yet. You haven't held the election yet. And then after you do have the election, they say, well, you don't have standing because, we don't have time and the clock's ticking and, it's already been decided, we're just going to let them cheat and get away with it. And, it's going to be fun. You'll love Joe Bite Me.
I like him about as much as a stomach pump.
Oh, man, I'm telling you, really, the guy is the...
I am very, very happy that I did not vote for either one of these bozos.
The guy is so crooked, Philo. I mean, at least with Hillary and the Clinton Foundation, they at least gave some money to poor people and made it look good,
She did do one thing. She tried to get a national health care plan.
Yeah.
She tried, and when they said, we're going to tax the top 1% of the people, 1%, they went crazy.
Oh, no.
Oh, boy, that was the most horrible thing.
I mean, if we'd only listened to Harry friggin' Truman, we would have had a national health plan in 1947.
Well, the Brits came up with the NHS in 1950,
Yeah.
I think it was 1950 or somewhere around there, right after World War II.
Yeah, and it was, it was pretty rough before that, but it wasn't that bad compared to other Western countries. And here we are. This is from today's paper. On this day in 1773, the Boston Tea Party took place. Yes, a bunch of drunken sots came out of the bar rooms, put on war paint, dressed like Indians, and boarded a British ship and dumped 300 chests of tea into Boston Harbor to protest tea taxes. That was a minor part. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of people drinking tea. Most of the people in Boston were drinking like rum and cider, Philo.
Yeah, but if they didn't have that dumping all that tea in the harbor, then they wouldn't have had the Tea Party. Here, what is it, some 200 years later?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I guess so. Wearing these hats like mine and with tea bags on them. It's like, what the hell?
What a bunch of losers.
What are you people thinking? Oh, and here's a good one. On this day in 1811, the first of the powerful New Madrid earthquakes struck the central Mississippi Valley with an estimated magnitude of 7.7. I'm telling you, there's a reason. Well, you look at a map of this country, why that river goes right up through the center of this country. It's because that is one of the biggest fault lines on the planet, man. And I'm telling you what, if you drive up, there's a thing called the Natchez Trace Parkway, right? If you ever get a chance, Terry, you should check it out. I mean, it's a beautiful drive, through southern forests with the magnolia trees and the Spanish moss hanging down and stuff like that. And it's a 2-lane road like the Blue Ridge Parkway, and it goes from Natchez, Mississippi, somewhere up to like Nashville, I think, or Memphis. It's Nashville. It's like central Tennessee. But it starts in Natchez, and it is just beautiful. I mean, there's no houses, no gas stations, no power lines, no signs, no nothing, dude. Just 2 lanes going through this beautiful forest. And you have to get off it to like get gas and food and stuff like that. And it is incredible. And one of the places, there are a bunch of overlooks. And as a matter of fact, that's where what's-his-face got killed. The guy from Lewis and Clark was one of them. It was either Lewis or Clark. I can't remember which. One of them had turned into a drunk and gambler or whatever.
Okay, last but not least.
Anyways, one of the places you can look out over an overlook, and it shows where this lake had formed after the New Madrid earthquake. Well, once again, you wasted a perfectly good hour of your life watching this show. And like I said, if you go to this website, thanks, Philo. Know what you're getting into. If you want to take the vaccine, but read the side effects. And of course, they made fun of me when I read the website on the air and asked them if they were going to put a link to the website on the Department of Health in Vermont. But sounds like you already did. Ha ha ha. All there is some, redness and sight. No problem there. But hopefully we'll see you again next week. Good Lord willing, the creek don't rise, inshallah, as the Hebrews say. And until then, get down on your hands and knees in the men-only mosque. Sniff the bum of the guy in the man dressed next to you. Head east and go, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Murphy.
Deus Magnus Est.
All right, yes, sir. I gotta put on.